Hello everyone, this is Judge Richard, back again. Um, Still trying to get this account started. So just so you know, at some point in the next few weeks, I'm going to try and get a video out, a follow-up to my last webcam video, which was about the Legend of Korra. Now that the first season's over, I want to do a follow-up to that. So that's going to come out in a couple weeks. But right now, I want to talk very briefly about Brave, which is, of course, the new Pixar film. It came about 2 weeks ago. It's the 13th feature-length film by Pixar, and the first to feature a female lead. So this is an interesting film to talk about. I mean, before I get into the movie itself, and there are going to be spoilers in this, I'm going to be talking as though you've seen the plot. So if you want to see the movie without knowing what happens, go see it. It's absolutely worth the time and the money to go see it. It's a very good film. But it is, as many people have said, it's not Up, it's not The Incredibles, it's not Finding Nemo or Ratatouille or Toy Story, which has been the source of a lot of strange criticism for the film. So the details about the film: 13th Disney film, the first Pixar film, sorry. It's the first original Pixar film, or the first non-sequel Pixar film in 3 years, which I think is fairly long for them. The last one being, of course, Up, which I consider to be one of the greatest animated films ever made. A lot of people consider it one of the best Pixar films. So it's the first original film since Up, so I think that brought a lot of expectations with it for this film. It's also the first film featuring a female character, but a female lead. But not just that, it's very much like Pixar's take on the usual Disney trope of a princess or a strong female in a time and place where women are second-rate citizens or members of society, and how she tries to fight and overcome these inherent gender restrictions that are placed upon her, and tries to gain her a sense of freedom and individuality, and she tries to change her fate. The word fate is like the key word in this movie. They say, I don't know how many times they say it. It's like 100 times. So it's an unusual film in a lot of ways, and it is good, and people have been saying that it's good, but the positive reviews of it have been very muted, with a lot of caveats of, yeah, it's good, but it's not Pixar, which I think is weird. A lot of friends who saw it before I did told me that, like, oh, it's good, just don't expect a Pixar movie. And that's my main question with it, is why is it not a Pixar movie just because it's not a genre redefining revolution, just because it doesn't completely subvert or upend the princess fairy tale story? Why does that mean it's not a true Pixar film? I don't agree with that at all. Let me talk about the film a bit. So, basic plotline is we see the main character, Merida, the Scottish princess, and the first half of the film, we're introduced to her family members. Her father's the Scottish king, voiced by Billy Connolly, who's fantastic. Her mother's the queen, voiced by Emma Thompson. A lot of great voice talent. Merida herself is voiced by, I think her name is Katie Thompson, if I remember correctly, who I know and many others know as as Moss's wife from No Country for Old Men. So when I found that out, I was like, whoa, it's a weird casting pick. But it works. I think it works. The voice acting, of course, is fantastic. The animation is as good as it's ever been with a Pixar film. The opening scenic shots of the Scottish countryside are gorgeous. That alone makes it worth seeing on the big screen. It's on the level of like Princess Mononoke in terms of natural scenes in an animated film. It's that good. The people are, like The Incredibles and Up. The people are just as good as in The Incredibles and Up. They're totally, the CGI works, and they look like real people. They're cartoonish moments. But the animation for Pixar just keeps getting better. The film, one of the reasons why I think it absolutely is a Pixar film, why it absolutely deserves to be considered one of the top Pixar films, is that it continues Pixar's reputation of technical perfection in their films. I've not seen a single Pixar film that hasn't looked amazing and that hasn't been incredibly well made and designed. even the Cars movies, which a lot of people acknowledge are the worst Pixar films. I don't care for them. I'm never going to see the second one. Even those movies look really good and are designed really well. So in that sense, this film is absolutely a Pixar film. In that, from a technical standpoint, it's I have zero criticism of it from that angle. And the acting, the voice acting is fantastic. It always is with Pixar. The real issue with this film is the story, which now I found out later they had 4 or 5 writers or people credited with writing. They had one person who had the story design, and then 4 or 5 people who did the writing on this film, and then 4 people who did the directing. Apparently, the original people, or the original woman, I think it was a woman, I think someone named Brenda, for some reason got removed from the project and was replaced. And I think that explains a lot of the issues with the film and why, as good as the film is and how powerful it is at times, like the opening scenes where they establish the characters and they establish the world are gorgeous, are fun to watch, and they really draw you in. The ending scenes are really moving. You know, these are fun, good, interesting characters, and you want to find out what happens, which is good. So that's all well done. So the ending is emotional, and you feel invested, even if you are disappointed about some things, which I'll get to in a minute. But it really does feel a bit schizophrenic, and at times it definitely doesn't feel like a Pixar movie. It doesn't even feel like your standard princess fairy tale, because there's a big part in the middle that I'll get to that really deviates from that. So I think that now Pixar has had large writing and direction teams before, but I've never seen a Pixar movie that has felt this schizophrenic. And again, I'm not going to do a plot summary here because it would take too long. Basically, the first half of the movie is Merida has been raised a princess by her overbearing mother, who she's constantly at odds with, and her father is honestly like, I don't want to take sides. I don't want to take sides in this conflict. So Billy Connolly is hilarious in this movie. So there's a mother-daughter relationship going on here, which is really good. They're both well acted, and it feels like a real conflict. It feels like how mother and daughter would fight and would be in conflict with each other. And that works great when they focus on that. But then halfway through the movie, I can't describe it any other way. The film turns into Brother Bear. Alright, here's the spoiler alert. Merida meets a witch and wishes to change her mother. And the spell ends up turning the mother into a bear. And so Merida and her mother as the bear have to flee the castle, because you find out in the beginning that Billy Connolly has a thing against bears in this movie. They have to flee so that the mother isn't killed. And of course they do eventually find the bear, and there's a whole mix-up, and he does almost kill her, and blah blah blah. So they have to go out, and they have to kind of overcome their differences, even though the mother can no longer talk. And they have to kind of reconnect that way so that they can break the spell. All well and good, but the parts with the mother as the bear, are really jarring. Like, it's a complete shift in tone, and that's the main reason why the film as a whole doesn't. There are emotional scenes in it. When a character cries or is upset, you really you feel upset for them too. Like when Merida cries, or when the mother gets upset, it's really moving. You look like you're watching actual people breaking down. But then when they throw in this bit with the bear, and the bear is so clearly it looks like a bear, and the animation on the bear is really good, but they go out of their way to have the bear have the mother as the bear have human expressions and move and act like a human. And it really feels out of place. And it doesn't sit well with the tone that the movie sets in the beginning and in the end. The beginning really sets it up as like this big kind of epic adventure, and then it devolves from there into a familial conflict, which isn't bad in of itself, but the way they do it is a little jarring, and I think if you haven't seen it yet, it might be unsettling for some people. There are the witch's character, the witch who turns the mother into the bear, has a whole slew of like modern 21st century like pop culture jokes, which has always, like, that used to be what DreamWorks would do. DreamWorks would, and to a lesser extent, some Disney movies would be throwing in like fourth wall breaking, 21st century like pop culture references into an ancient or medieval historical setting. Pixar's never done that before, and it's funny. Like there's a scene where they come across the witch's cottage again. Then they want the witch to change the mother back, but the witch isn't there. The witch has a cauldron. You have to pour vials in. It's kind of like, press one to get customer service, press two to get, pour vial one to get if you're returning, or things like that. And it's funny, it's well done, but it just feels out of place, and it doesn't. It's almost like there's a couple different movies going on, and they never really quite mesh together. So I think that's why a lot of people have not had an overwhelming reaction to this film, and why I walked away a little bit disappointed. I admit, it doesn't follow through on the fantasy adventure promise of the first half, but its efforts to parlay that into something else come across as a little broken and scattered. And there are parts of the plot that are rushed that feel like they should have be of more significance, but are dealt with really quickly. Like there's another ancient bear that apparently is a human spirit that the witch also turned into a bear. That's really rushed over. That had the potential to be like something interesting. Like they have a scene where they come across these ancient ruins, and it's really like dark and misty. But then they kind of rush through the scene, and that's it. And then the bear shows up at the end and dies. Spoiler. So those are my main issues with the film. I think there was something else. It's here. Okay, here's the thing. Here's why it's worth seeing the film. Even though most of the plot is very much like a standard DreamWorks or Disney trope, and isn't the type of stuff Pixar normally does, there's more than enough that they do right. The animation, the scenes with the characters do get emotional, are really powerful, and there's enough of that Pixar. Pixar's always a little eccentric with their films, and there's enough of that in there that I don't see why it shouldn't be considered one of the good Pixar films. Even though most of the story is stuff that you and I have all seen before, there's enough new stuff in there and enough unexpected stuff to make it worth watching. One of them being the fact that this is and I'm not kidding, this is the first Pixar movie with nudity. There are several scenes where there's a couple of the men, including Billy Connolly, get locked up in a tower, and they have to take off their trousers to form a rope to get down, and there's a whole shot of them all walking, and they're all naked from the waist down. You can see their asses. And kind of like how it was shocking in Up to see blood, because the two shots in Up where there were blood were really like, wow, there's blood in a Pixar movie. There's a couple shots here where you're like, oh, characters are naked. Well, so that's not the only example. So there's a couple things like that in the movie. That's the one that sticks out the most to me because it was the most unexpected. I never before have I expected to see nudity in a Pixar film. So there's enough going on in this film. There's enough that they do right and that they do well, and that's well done, and that's new, that no other Disney or DreamWorks film has done, to make it worth watching. So, yeah, what a lot of the reviews have been saying are true. It isn't as good as Ratatouille or Finding Nemo, or the classic Pixar films. But it is still good, and you can tell that. Again, I'm willing to give a film credit if it doesn't quite work, but I feel that there's effort behind there, and I do feel that with this film, they were trying to have some new things in this very overdone story arc of a mother and a daughter in an ancient time place trying to assert their individuality. And it's, even if you don't love the film, even if you don't really like the film, I definitely think you'll have fun watching it. And it's unique enough that it's a unique enough viewing experience that it's worth it. You'll remember it. It'll make you think, and that's all you can ask from a film. If a film just gets you to really think about it for a while, it's doing something right. So I know this video is longer than I normally do, but if you've watched this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I hope to follow up with some more reviews soon, including my reviews of the first season of The Legend of Korra. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.